Hello everyone, welcome to Your Questions on Astrology Answered. It's number 9 in my series. Many interesting questions from my viewers, including the Bhava Chalit chart. What is it? How does it work? When do we use it? And the Pranapada Lagna, a very special Lagna, ascendant point to see in your chart in the Vedic system. Many other questions as well, and a full list of all the questions is below the video with timestamps. Don't forget also to continue to post new questions for me in the comment box below, which I will address in my next edition of the series. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below, and if the video is good for you, give it a thumbs up. Thank you. Let's begin. Let's begin with the Bhava Chalit chart, the way of dividing up the actual birth chart in a different way to sign for a house, with the Lagna ascendant point as central. It's also called Lagna chart. I've had so many questions about this, but now I come to answer them. Would you know, I can't find one single printed example, but never mind. I know you've asked me about the chart so many times. So what is this chart? How do you construct it? When do you use it? And actually answer the very important question, do you really need Bhava Chalit chart? Or is it actually just heaping confusion and blinding you to the reality of your karmas? Important questions. In the Bhava Chalit chart, the degree of your ascendant, whatever sign it is, the exact degree becomes very important. It becomes the center of each house. Let's have a quick example, everybody. Say your ascendant is 10 degrees of Leo, which is around here, isn't it, in this circle chart here. So 10 degrees Leo rising. Each house will therefore have 10 degrees as the center because ascendant becomes central to every house. Therefore, with 10 degrees Leo central, we go 15 degrees backwards from there and 15 degrees forward from there. So in this case, house 1 becomes 25 degrees Cancer to 25 Leo. House 2, 25 Leo, 25 Virgo, and so on around the zodiac. In this way, the Bhava Chalit is equal house system because every house is 30 degrees, but it is the ascendant degree which is prominent. Any planet being in this degree, in this case 10 degrees, of any sign becomes very strong in this chart. Of course, what is different to the standard rasi chart, birth chart, is that you're going to get more than one sign in a house, but be careful. Lord of the house stays the same. So, ascendant Leo means Sun, Lord's first house, Mercury second, Venus third, and so on. Now, don't forget, this is still a birth chart. It's not changing the birth chart position of the planets, just the house position. So, when planets are seen to be in a different house in this Bhava Chalit compared to your rasi birth chart, it's very significant indeed. Let's just see 2 examples quickly. Here we have Marilyn Monroe's chart. Here is the birth chart on the left-hand side here, normal sign for a house rasi chart. And here is the D1 as a Bhava Chalit chakra chart. One planet has changed house. Can you see which one? It's Jupiter, of course. Jupiter in Aquarius has gone backwards into the 7th house rather than 8th house as it was in the birth chart. It's from the Lagna perspective. Don't forget, Bhava Chalit is Lagna perspective. So she perceives Guru Jupiter as being in 7th house for her, not in the 8th house. Now, the planet Jupiter was at 4 degrees of Aquarius, and that doesn't change. Obviously, that can't change because that's where Jupiter was when she was born. But from the Bhava Chalit perspective, which is Lagna, personal perspective, ascendant perspective, she is perceiving Jupiter as a 7th house, not 8th house planet. She is perceiving it as actually acting through Capricorn, which is the sign of the 7th house. It is this change of perspective, everyone, that is what Bhava Chalit Lagna chart is all about. Marilyn Monroe perceives Jupiter karmas as they manifest in her life, in relationships. So very, very differently to what's actually happening. She won't see relationships as they are, but as she personally perceives them to be. There's a mismatch happening here. We shall come back to her chart definitely, and particularly, of course, Jupiter Mahadasha her karmas then will be very important, because her view of events may not match the actual reality. Let's look quickly at a different chart. Prince Harry, birth chart, Bhava Chalit. Can you see what's changing? Virtually everything is changing. 6 planets, everyone, are changing. Ketu's gone backwards. Saturn, Venus, Mercury, Rahu, Moon. They're all changing house. So from his Lagna, Prince Harry's Lagna perspective, in this Bhava Chalit chart, he is seeing his life different to the actual karmas which are manifesting. It's a perception, Lagna perception difference. Let's discuss this to understand. In a nutshell, the rasi birth chart shows you your karmas manifesting, the reality of the circumstances, situations you will be facing in this life. Why? Because rasi means a heap, sign means a heap. A heap of what? A heap of your karmas. Bhava Chalit, though, is coming not from the sign, not from the actual karmas manifesting the actual reality here, but from our personal perspective, because Bhava Chalit comes from the Lagna degree, as I've just shown you. So whether our planet's changing from this rasi to this Bhava Chalit, we are seeing those karmas differently. We are perceiving them as being something different to what they actually are. And it's important to understand this. It's a blinkered perspective. And we do it a lot in life, don't we, everybody? Have you ever had anybody say to you, you're not in tune with reality about this situation, about this person, about what's actually happening to you? You're just seeing it from your point of view, blah, blah. You see, all of these are actually what the Bhava Chalit is showing you. Where you are seeing things from a narrow perspective, maybe as you would like them to be, maybe as it suits you for them to be. We don't want to get into the in-depth psychology here. We just want to understand that Bhava Chalit shows you from the Lagna individual point of view how you are interpreting events, how you are seeing your karmas manifest. But where there is a mismatch in this Bhava Chalit to the rasi chart, it's not in tune with reality, and therefore in Mahadasha, it can show us that we get very mixed up about things. And so maybe from that point of view, it can be helpful when you can see, aha, Bhava Chalit Mahadasha, it's in a completely different house to the rasi chart. Maybe I need to have a few reality checks during this Mahadasha. That's a good way to use Bhava Chalit. Let's see all this in action, everybody. Once again, let's go back to Marilyn Monroe's and Prince Harry's chart, where it becomes extremely interesting to see this mismatch between manifesting karmas and personal perspective in these charts. Marilyn Monroe's chart. Jupiter is moving, as we've just seen, from the rasi chart 8th house in this Bhava Chalit chakra. It is in the 7th house, the only planet moving. She was born with Jupiter-Mars conjunction, but in this Bhava Chalit, she is seeing this Jupiter-Mars as not manifesting at all, but Jupiter-Moon in the 7th house as her reality. Let's look at the lifetime karmas very, very briefly here, everybody. Jupiter rules conflict, 6th house. Jupiter rules the 9th house, father, higher education, dharma, religion. And Guru has gone into the house behind his own house. He's gone into the 8th house. Now, this is difficult because father will become lost to you, unknown to you maybe, or you will have difficulties with father. Whereas in this Bhava Chalit, Jupiter has gone into the 7th house, a much more favorable position. But what happened is she never knew father. She never knew who father was. He was completely lost to her. That shows the actual reality of this rasi chart karmas here. More than that, this 9th house, by the way, is pregnancy female chart. Well, Marilyn Monroe was known to have many abortions, miscarriages, etc. Ruler here has gone into the 8th house, loss of child, even with Mars showing some surgical intervention. None of that reality shows when we see Jupiter Guru in the 7th house with the moon. It's a completely different yoga. It doesn't show this sort of loss of pregnancy. Because Jupiter represents husband in female chart, is why it's so important. Basic chart, the actual reality chart, rasi chart, Jupiter is with Mars. It's difficult. She's going to have changes. She's going to have real transformations through husband. She has to be careful about choice of husband, but she doesn't see it that way. She sees it Jupiter, moon, 7th house. See, Jupiter in reality is in Aquarius and will not change that, 4 degrees Aquarius, but in the Bhava Chalit, she sees Jupiter as acting through Capricorn. Jupiter Capricorn, debilitated but very opportunistic. She's always looking for the next notch up, the next higher status husband, or getting something from the husband. That's the thing. What she thinks she's going to get is nourishment from husband. Moon is nourishment. And of course, getting some sort of public acclaim through the husband, something like that. She's looking for that. She thinks she's going to get that from the husband. But in reality, it's Jupiter, Mars, 8th house. It isn't going to work like that. Now, she had 3 husbands and none of those marriages were actually satisfactory. Some of them, one of them actually only lasted for a few weeks, months. I can't remember now. I'm not going to look it up, but they were all definitely unsatisfactory. Now, Marilyn Monroe died in Jupiter Mahadasha, in the Mahadasha of a lord in the 8th house of her chart. A very challenging time for her, going from 1949 until her death. Now, she died in Jupiter Mars. Here we have this Jupiter Mars karmas coming up in this mysterious 8th house. She died of an overdose of barbiturate, sleeping pills, and there always was this mystery around her death. 8th house shows mysterious circumstance. Interestingly, Jupiter is not just husband. Jupiter represents married men as well. At the end of this Jupiter Mahadasha, or even before, I'm not sure, but definitely Marilyn Monroe was having affairs with married men, notably with John F. Kennedy, the president, and even with his brother, Robert Kennedy. But true to the rasi karma chart, the birth chart, it was all Jupiter, Mars, 8th house. Very mysterious, very undercover, and actually potentially dangerous. Jupiter, Mars together, 8th house, shows that married men are not helpful for her. They may even potentially be dangerous. But Marilyn Monroe, Bhava Chalit Chart, didn't see that reality, didn't register it because Jupiter is gone 7th house with the moon. She sees married men as nurturing her, helping her, but that was not the actual karma manifesting. Now to Prince Harry's chart, with so many planets shifting from this rasi to this Bhava Chalit, his perspective of his life is in many departments completely not in tune with the reality of his karmas. Yes, Marilyn Monroe had some illusions in her 7th house about relationships, but Prince Harry seems to have much more than that going on. I'll have to keep this a very quick analysis, so let's just focus on some very obvious changes and the difference between rasi and Bhava Chalit. First of all, Ketu. Ketu birth chart is with Mars in the 12th house. Foreign lands are difficult for him. There is stress, there is separation, there is quite a lot of anger and difficulty. Scorpio is a very internalized sign. There is much difficult emotion here, but in the Bhava Chalit, that emotion is separating because Ketu goes into the house of the brother, of the elder brother. What's the reality shown from the birth karmas? Shani is in the sign of his exaltation in Libra. This is excellent. This shows a very supportive, traditional and helpful brother, elder sibling for him. But Prince Harry, because of Bhava Chalit, doesn't see any of that. From Prince Harry's Lagna perspective, Bhava Chalit, Ketu is in the 11th house. Ketu is a separative factor, so he is separating himself. This is his perspective, or he sees the actual brother as separating himself. Somehow there is some lack of foresight here. Ketu is just headless, yeah? Ketu is also anger, aggression. He's seeing an angry brother, not an actual helpful brother, who is what he is, shown by the karmas. These are good karmas manifesting, but he's seeing Ketu. He's seeing loss of connection. The next big shift. Birth chart shows Venus karmas manifesting through Virgo 10th house. Bhava Chalit, he sees Saturn karmas manifesting in his 10th house. Venus 10th house shows his fortune as a prince of his actual birth, opposite to the 4th house. He becomes popular in his status, and he was in the UK very, very popular indeed until after his marriage. That was. So Venus 10th house, he's got popularity, he's got personality, he's got charisma, he's got success, he's got ease, he's got a very luxurious and somewhat easy lifestyle, which he definitely did have. But Prince Harry sees none of that. He sees Shani. He sees responsibility, hard work, toil. He doesn't see popularity. He sees pressure. He sees himself trapped by tradition. All of which he has spoken about in his book Spare, but it's his perception of his actually very privileged position that actually are his due karmas. So all of this birth privilege has actually moved backwards in his perspective from the 10th house to the 9th house. Venus he sees as 9th house. He sees it as in foreign land. He will get happiness foreign land. He will not get happiness, he thinks, in his birth home. Of course, as I've just said, the actual birth chart shows something else. He will not get ease foreign land. He will get disturbance, most likely. Let's look at the spouse, because this is quite important, isn't it? Mercury is the lord of his 7th house. Of course, both charts here, both same birth chart, but in the Bhava Chalit, Mercury has gone into the 8th house, whereas in the actual rasi chart, it is 9th house. A complete change of perspective. So his wife is actually shown to be a Leonian type person, very, very bossy, maybe controlling, but also a very capable person, very ambitious person. Mercury with the sun, someone who can stand on her own feet, definitely someone who is a little bit showy, maybe. Leo, a bit concerned with publicity, all of those Leonian factors, definitely. Does he see his wife like that? First wife? No. He sees her as Mercury in Cancer now, acting through this 8th house. He sees a motherly figure. He sees some deep emotional needs being met through her, but she is not actually providing that, according to the birth chart. Now, Prince Harry is born with Moon Saturn, showing some deep emotional difficulty, some sense of actually not being nurtured or not accepting nurturance. We're not going to go into a big psychoanalysis here, but this Moon Saturn manifests through the 5th house, 5th house, 11th house. Sorry, it's going to manifest through his creativity, which may be a little bit blocked, through his education, which may not be satisfactory for him, and even through children. Separation may be there at some point. Prince Harry pinpoints this depressive aspect of his personality as a 4th, 10th house factor. It's about his status in life. He doesn't like it. It's about his family, his early family life. He doesn't like it. He doesn't feel secure there. He sees that as the root of his actual depression. But birth chart does not support that perception. Finally, he's in Rahu Mahadasha now, 6th house. We can see the actual reality of this. Rahu, 6th house, litigation, conflicts, all sorts of splits and difficulties with so many people. That's what Rahu, 6th house always manifests. And that's what his life has been, especially during this latter half of that Mahadasha. There has also been conflict, foreign lands. He's been involved in warfare for some of this Mahadasha. Mars Ketu in Scorpio, a very energetic soldier. But rather than toning this down and perhaps being more careful about this litigation, Prince Harry sees Rahu, 5th house. It's a carefree attitude. It's a risk-taking attitude. He's throwing caution to the winds considerably, but it's not working out exactly smoothly as he would expect. Most of his litigations have not always worked out in his favor. But the good news, and here's the thing about Mahadasha changing, he will finally, in 2025, actually go into Jupiter Mahadasha. This is a Lord of Ascendant in own sign. Jupiter is so strong, 1st house, and in both charts, Rasi chart, Bhava Chalit, it is in Ascendant. Finally, one can hope from 25, Harry will get more in tune with his destiny, with his karmas. And interestingly, Jupiter is his Atmakaraka, his soulmate planet. I'll just leave it there. Next, a question from Nyanafai. Hope that was right. If Ketu is on the 7th, marriage is doomed. Well, let's see. Or what effects would it have? What if it is Vagotamar on 7th too? That is, Ketu is in 7th house, also in the Navamsa. Thanks for your question. So let's look at Ketu being in the 7th house. Don't forget, Rahu is the 1st house. It's a Sarpa dosh, just like Rahu Ketu, either way, 4th and 10th house. Actually, either way, whether it's Rahu 1st house, Rahu 7th house, this Rahu Ketu in this 1st 7th axis will make relationships challenging. Either way, that's for sure. By the way, since you mentioned Ketu 7th house Navamsa, yes, similar result. In fact, if it is birth chart and Navamsa, Ketu 7th house, you just have to honor this Ketu position. I'm going to talk about that. Now, wherever Ketu is in your chart, he will always give a certain material detachment because that is his nature. He's not looking for material gain. He's not looking for material pleasure. He's headless. He's not interested in any of that. Therefore, people who have Ketu 7th house or indeed aspecting 7th house tend to have a certain detachment towards a spouse, detachment towards relationships. Try as they may, spouse doesn't feel listened to. Spouse doesn't feel that you are totally engaging with them, even if you think you are. And the reason behind it is because Rahu is in the 1st house. Rahu is obsession. You're obsessed with your own path in life of necessity. Rahu 1st house is just like a newborn baby. This is a new karmic cycle when you have this Rahu Ketu axis. You are obsessed with who you are, who you should be, what you should do. It's exciting and it takes up all of your energy. There's less energy for the relationship. So naturally, relationship difficulties will be there. But here's the thing, if there are other planets with Ketu, you will be drawn of necessity into some very karmic bonds where you are finishing past life karmas. Back to your question, is the relationship doomed? It's going to be trouble, that's for sure. But here's the thing, what you can definitely know is Ketu will support two very important types of relationship. 1. Ketu will support a spiritual path together. When you are both in a spiritual path together, supporting each other's spiritual growth, he will support the relationship. Secondly, very importantly, Ketu will support having children. When you start a family, when you raise a family, this can be biological, having children, or adopting children. Either way, why is Ketu a little bit obsessed with this? Because generally Ketu does not support any material engagement whatsoever, but he will support bringing up children. He will help the relationship to survive because of that. Why? Because Ketu wants that human bodies exist. If there are no human bodies for the spirit souls to inhabit, how will they get moksha? How will they get liberation? Okay, so he wants human bodies to be created. He will support you in that case in a relationship. But of course, for final analysis, you must also see Lord of the 7th house where he is. Check the video on my channel, 7th Lord, all houses, because in the end, he will show the final karmas influencing this house. A question from Dulinda Lakshan. Madam, please make a video about planets conjunction in Navamsa chart. Is it giving same results as D1 chart? Good question. Is it affecting Dasha period? So thank you for the question. Answer quite simply is yes. Planets in your D9 chart in a conjunction have a very similar effect to that of the D1 chart. There's a playlist on my channel, Conjunctions in Astrology, just coming to the end of that now. 1 or 2 more videos to be added. And those conjunctions affect equally D9. I've actually stated that on the playlist. But the context is important. Navamsa will influence relationships. So those conjunctions particularly impact relationships. Check the video on my channel D9 chart where I actually speak about differences in the houses in the D9 where you can see those conjunctions. And will they impact Mahadasha? Most definitely. You cannot see Mahadasha planet Bhukti just D1. You must see D9 minimum. You can also see all the other Varga charts. Even D60 is very important if you can have accurate time of birth. Don't forget, D9 is about dharmic progress, how you are making the best of this incarnation. What can you do to be the best? What can you actually do to manifest the highest karmas? So Mahadasha in D9 shows how you are progressing along those lines as well, being the best you can be, not just relationship. Next, a question from Too Agnostic for You. It's an interesting name. Hi, Gina. Love your channel. Thank you. I have a question regarding Atmakaraka transits. My question is, how much should we judge the transit of our Atmakaraka planet in our natal birth chart, meaning how it is transiting in the sky, be it Jupiter, Venus, Mars, whatever? How important is it in judging current circumstances in our life? Are there any special ways of looking at it? Thank you. And thank you as well very much for your question. And the answer quite simply is no. Don't worry too much about your highest degree planet in your chart in his transit. Why? Because highest degree planet for somebody could be the moon, could be Mercury, Venus, fast moving planets. They're not going to have significant impact by their transit. Don't forget the moon changes sign every 2.5 days. On the other hand, transits of other planets to the Atmakaraka in your chart are significant. You must understand that Atmakaraka planet, highest degree planet in your chart, contains some really difficult karmas, a whole dustbin of karmas you have to burn. Check the video on my channel, Atmakaraka planet, if you don't know about it actually. So yes, say Saturn comes to your Atmakaraka. It can be conjunction, opposition, but generally speaking, conjunctions are so powerful. You will actually feel some constricting circumstance, something which you cannot avoid, which you have to deal with, but which will actually help you to deal with these karmas and to grow spiritually. And if, say, Jupiter transits to your Atmakaraka planet, there can be some spiritually uplifting experience in some cases. Please remember, though, when we are actually judging transits in the Vedic system, it's never simple. It is never Saturn is bad, restrictive, not going to help you. Jupiter is always expansive. We don't judge transits like that. But the real thing you're going to be looking out for is the Mahadasha of the Atmakaraka planet. When that comes around, the big karmas, the difficult karmas, the trying situations come, but you make enormous growth. spiritually during that time. Next, a question from Witchcraft 997. If the Ascendant Lord is retrograde, does it affect the whole chart, or is it to be judged as a normal retrograde planet? Interesting question, because people put so much emphasis on the Ascendant Lord, don't they? It's a little bit of a mistake to give Lagnatia so much prominence, by the way. Let's look at your interesting question. Lagna Lord has gone retrograde then. Is it going to affect the whole chart? No, not in the way you are thinking. Where has this idea come from? Lagna Lord is the one you need to see. Everything else is secondary. What a very narrow perspective. Where's it come from? I think it's come from the Western astrology. I really, really do. Because originally, Vedic astrology would have put so much emphasis on the moon nakshatra, not the first house lord. You see, I know Western astrology, and from the Western astrology perspective, first house lord is everything. It's the lord of the chart. It's the lord of your destiny. It's your personality. My goodness, it's just superficial. The Lagna Lord, the Lagnatia, is important because it is lording your body. Without a body, you haven't got the life, right? But your body is not who you are. It's a very, very narrow perspective. And by the way, it does not represent your personality particularly either. It's not your personality, it's how your brain works. So, first house lord is about the head, is about the brain. It's the first house Aries, isn't it? Natural zodiac. So, Lagna Lord takes your brain into a certain house of your chart. It's your intelligence. It's how you make decisions. Oh, I think I've just answered the question for you, haven't I? When it is retrograde, when the Lagnatia, first house lord, whatever sign it is, whatever lord it is retrograde, you have difficulty making decisions. It's never going to happen if you are Leo Lagna, Cancer Lagna, because Sun, Moon just don't go retrograde. But that won't mean that Leo Lagna people are not indecisive or Cancer Lagna people are not indecisive. But it's a little less likely. You have to see the whole chart, obviously. So basically speaking, Lagna Lord retrograde makes you take your time to make decisions. You think things over in minute detail. Maybe your brain gets hold of something, depends what house, okay? And really picks it to bits. Because retrograde planet means you have to redo things a few times until you actually get it right. So you may make decisions, you may go back on decisions, you may go this way, that way with your life, trying different avenues, but not because it is Lagna Lord ruling this incarnation, but it's simply because your brain works that way. You change your mind a lot. And that's about the essence of it. Don't worry, it's not going to ruin your chart, it's not going to ruin your life. Don't put so much emphasis on this Lagnatia. See the Lord of your sun sign. See the Lord of your moon sign. Suptapati is so important. Don't become obsessed with the first house Lord. Question from Tao 2. How important is the dasha we are running at the moment of birth? Is it connected with past life karma? Very good question. So the dasha at birth, is it connected to past life karma? Everything in your chart, in all the Varga charts, in the D60 particularly showing you last human birth, is connected to past life karma. Cause and effect. Nothing can happen without a prior cause. But I'm sure you probably know that, and I do understand what your question is. First dasha, is it having a special connection to our past life circumstance? Question is, of course, which Mahadasha are you speaking about? We have many Mahadashas running consecutively in our life. I've hinted at this on my channel and I've just touched the surface of it, everybody. But look, Moon Nakshastra Mahadasha, standard Vimsotri from the moon. Yes, look at that first Mahadasha carefully. It's a bit like imprinting, actually, at a really subtle level. That first Mahadasha planet Graha has actually imprinted into you some circumstance, some action, situation, whatever choices that are going to be essential in this incarnation. And they are certainly linked to incompleted karmas. So let's go through all of the planets then, looking at the first Mahadasha of your life. No matter how little left there was when you were born, using standard Vimsotri Moon Nakshastra Dasha. If your first Mahadasha this life is the Sun, then father figure becomes important to you. Whatever karmas are there according to your chart, the influence of your father or fatherly figure, authority figures even, become important. You may be asked to step up and to take some important authoritative position also in this life. Similarly, role of the mother is important when Moon is the first Janma Nakshastra Mahadasha for you. You will have to be nurturing to others. Don't lock yourself away if Moon is your first Mahadasha. You are here to nourish others, definitely. Mercury first Mahadasha, what you say it, how you speak, how you talk, what you write, all of those Mercury factors. It will be a restless incarnation. You will be constantly on the move. Venus Mahadasha, you know what I'm going to say. It isn't just love, romance, it's sexuality, attractiveness, how you use it, how you are ethical about all of these things. You are here to definitely do something which creates beauty, creates harmony in the world. Mars, as your first dasher of birth, you're going to make a big impact on other people, but do not dominate others. Mars shows that you should not be too aggressive, too forceful. If this is all coming from past life, use energy wisely. Fight for the right cause at all times. Jupiter first Mahadasha, you are here to teach, you are here to learn, you are here to get knowledge. It's so important. Show respect to your teachers, gurus, leaders. That is hugely karmic. Saturn as your first Mahadasha, many hurdles you will have to go through, but you will gain strength, you will gain discipline, systematic action. You are here to definitely gain karmas of hard work. So don't be afraid. Put your nose to the grindstone. You will get reward. Rahu first Mahadasha, even from childhood you'll be thinking big, dreaming big, etc. But Rahu can actually give you first Mahadasha a lifetime of ups and downs. That's the thing. Don't be too egotistical. Don't be too dominating, and whatever you do, be honest. Ketu as your first Mahadasha, you will have a tendency to be obsessive, but this is what you are here to overcome. You are here to gain detachment, peace of mind. Finally, this time a question from Parumita Sadhu Khan, who says, what is Pranapada Lagna and its significance? Thank you for the question, because it's a very important point in your chart with a lot of detail to give you health-wise and happiness-wise. Let's have a look. Now, Pranapada Lagna is a point of your vitality. Prana means life force. It's a very subtle factor. Pada means point, place, or foot, if you like. Where is it placed? Where is your vitality point in your chart? From there, you can see so much about your life force, vitality, happiness, and success in life, because everything's coming from your engagement. However, first of all, we've got to find this PP, Pranapada Lagna. You're going to need some Vedic astrology software because it is changing so fast. Certainly, Devaguru website, link below in my description box, has this, but you would need to subscribe. Jagannath Hora may have it also. Let me know. Now, by the way, Pranapada Lagna is linked to the sun, specifically to the sunrise. You need to have accurate time of birth because, as I've said, it is changing very swiftly. A little more detail about what actually Pranapada Lagna represents. Prana is the actual subtle life force in all creation, all living things. plants, trees, animals, humans. And we get prana, this life force, in two ways primarily: from the air we breathe and from the food we eat. So air which is pure, air which is free of pollution, particularly by the seaside, for example, is full of this life force prana. Also, fruits, vegetables, pure foods, particularly organic food, not tamas, food which is rotten, impure, tinned food, meat, etc., is not full of this life force. It's more like full of the death force, if the truth were known. But Pranapada Lagna in our chart shows how we are sustaining this prana, how we are utilizing it. Is it being drained by circumstances from us? Are we keeping up enthusiasm in our life, in our activities, or are we actually feeling depleted from time to time? Watch out particularly for malefics conjunct to your Pranapada Lagna. This is Mars, Saturn, Rahu Ketu. When they are conjunct to this PP in your chart, you are being subtly depleted of your life energy by Karaka significance of that planet sometimes, or by house rulership. Either way, you can have mental health lows, you can have physical health problems, you can have loss of enthusiasm in your endeavors. Apart from this, though, the primary way that we actually judge Pranapada Lagna in anyone's chart is by the house placement. And there are two groups that you should know. It's generally favorable when the PP Pranapada Lagna is in the second house, fourth, 5th, 9th, 10th, 11th, these 6 houses. And it is much more challenging when the PP is in 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 12. What happens, everyone, is when you have PP in these houses here, you are more likely to use prana in a good way, to sustain vitality, sustain energy, and to have enthusiasm and really good purpose in your life. But when Pranapada goes into these challenging houses, you are not doing that. You become depleted of your life force by various challenges in your life, and you definitely need to take remedial measures. By the way, these remedial measures are not just for challenging house placements of your PP, but also when PP may be in a favorable house but conjunct malefic. What you have to do is continually increase prana availability because it's being depleted by circumstances and your own attitude very often, or when you have PP in these challenging placements. Pranayama yogic exercises, breathing exercises, you need to get to know them. They can help you so much. And finally, let's look at the individual house placements themselves of your Pranapada Lagna. Now, when you have Pranapada in the first house of your birth chart, it's going to affect your health, definitely, because it's going to put stress on you. Where does the stress come from? From the opposite house. You get stressed by other people. Watch relationships, watch close friendships. Choose people who you interact with carefully when you have PP first house. Your brain can become fogged sometimes because of this PP. You can become overwhelmed with anxiety, with a real lack of direction, because PP has gone into the house of the decision-making faculty, the brain. Definitely pranayama exercises, definitely meditation, definitely time alone, because anxiety is definitely depleting your energy. PP second house, Pranapada Lagna second house in your chart can give you a lot of abundance. It's a fortunate thing. You are going to be careful about your food. You will take a lot of attention into your diet, definitely, when you have PP second house. You will definitely benefit by vegetarian diet if you have PP here, something that you should consider. You get wealth, abundance, because you share willingly with other people your vitality. You get vitality from others' abundance. It's a two-way situation. Now, when you have Pranapada Lagna third house, be careful. You can be a bit mischievous. You can like to play tricks on others or just have fun in life, basically. But is it at the cost of other people's vitality? Are you giving vitality to others, or are you taking it a little bit? Watch sexual relationships. Definitely Pranapada Lagna here can make you drained by excessive sexuality in some people's charts. You've got a very strong ego with this PP third house, and you waste a lot of pranic energy on arguments, on contention. You need to avoid this definitely to maintain health and vitality. Pranapada Lagna fourth house is good because it makes you relaxed, helpful, happy person. You are a soothing presence to other people, and they are, most of the time, to yourself, depending on the aspects. Spending time in your home with your family increases happiness, increases vitality. You are a very giving, caring, nurturing individual, and this is generally a very, very good placement for your vitality, health, and your enthusiasm in life. Of course, there will be difficulties when malefics are conjunct here, as I've just spoken about, but generally speaking, if you can contain those situations, it's a good placement. Pranapada Lagna's gone to the fifth house. It's a good placement. You get vitality, enthusiasm from children, young people, your own children, other people's children, teaching children, educating people, and you get so much vitality from learning situations. You give vitality to others and you receive it back. You're an extremely creative and enthusiastic person. Pranapada Lagna here means that you can inspire other people by your example in life. You may get fans, followers, and be actually fairly popular by this position. Now, when PP's gone to the sixth house of your chart, you've got to watch your health. You get very stressed, very agitated by other people, by contentious situations, particularly in your workplace. And definitely you get yourself into all sorts of litigations and arguments almost continually. This is depleting your life force. Indigestion can be seen by this Pranapada Lagna sixth house, or you have not got a diet suitable to you. Take advice about this. PP opposes a house of far distant lands, places. You may have difficulties, stresses dealing with individuals in foreign places or in your actual residence there sometimes, but you have to see the whole chart. If PP Pranapada is in the seventh house, relationships are draining your vitality. Be careful about choice of partner. Try to be understanding that sometimes you can be actually drawn to people who do not increase your life force but deplete it. It's to do with the actual strength of your desire. You may be lacking in innate vitality, enthusiasm, and you gain it from other people. That's the thing. You are very attracted to vital, strong, and energetic people, particularly in your partners. But Pranapada Lagna in the seventh house, you need time alone. You need to have quiet time, own time. You need to find that time where you can just do definitely pranayama, hatha yoga exercises, and replenish your energy because it's being drained by various individuals in your life. Not always partner, by the way. But please remember, you must replenish your own energy. You cannot get it from other people. Pranapada 8th house, be careful because you give a lot of energy to your family, to other people, but it is not being replenished. You can have high anxiety about business situations, joint financial situations, and all of this drains vitality from you. So you need a lot of downtime, time alone, secret study, occult study, getting to know the deep secrets of life replenishes your vital energy. So the more time alone, the more private study, the more yoga, pranayama, definitely, as I have discussed, you do, the happier and the healthier you will be. When you have PP 9th house, you are charming to other people. You are convivial, pleasant. People tend to like you very much. You get vitality from other people and you increase your own vitality. Fifth away is the first house. You normally take good care of your health when you have PP ninth house. Unless there are malefics afflicting this PP ninth house, education gives you vitality, gives you happiness, gives you enthusiasm, and teaching others can be also very favorable. And you get good connection to gurus, mentors, teachers, and to your father. PP gone to the 10th house, it gives you enormous enthusiasm for your career, for your endeavors, for your karma's deeds in this world. It gives you energy, purpose, and you attract other people to you. You have good organization skills. You can be fantastic boss manager with this. Whatever you do, though, you give it loads of energy. Learn to pace yourself. That's the thing. Pranapada Lagna has gone to the 11th house. The more friends you have, the more social life you have, the more interaction you have, the more vitality you have. It is all increasing happiness in your life. You give lots of energy to political causes, social justice causes, all of these things, and it increases, not depletes vitality. But if there are malefics here, you can also get yourself into contentious situations. You don't want that to happen. Generally, you are increasing vitality the more people there are in your life, not depleting. Watch your health when you have Pranapada Lagna 12th house. You've got quite delicate health with quite high levels of stress, which you need to acknowledge. You can have health problems with your feet or even with the eyes. Ancient texts discuss this. But the thing is that you are becoming anxious and stressed by quarrel, contention around you. You just want to get away, escape from it. You may even think foreign lands are the place for you to go. But be cautious about foreign lands if you have PP 12th house with malefics. It may not work out quite as you expect. Thing is, wherever you go, you need privacy. You need time alone. You need meditation, pranayama, definitely. You need to replenish continually life force. And if you can do this, maintaining privacy, not letting other people drain energy, you can be very, very happy with a deep spiritual wisdom. Hope the video was instructive to you all. Don't forget to post your new comments, your new questions for me below this video. Bye for now and God bless everyone.